G'day and welcome aboard. My name is Ian and I'll be your tour guide. Today in episode 6, we will be exploring Uralla, New South Wales. We start today's tour coming in from the north on the New England Highway with our first point of interest, turning left into Wood Street and then again into Barleyfields Road, is Constellations of the South Sculptures, which has 8 sculptures conceived by local artists Carl Merton and the late Charlie Rudd and Uralla Art Council. Now the idea is that each sculpture depicts constellations that are visible in the Uralla sky. So one of the sculptures is Musca, which is Latin for fly. Now this was first documented in 1597. Now it's a little group of stars located just below the Southern Cross and slightly above celestial South Pole. And as Jan Clark wrote on the plaque, that although the fly is very irritating, it is part of the cycle of the natural world, and it pollinates and gives food and is a recycler. Now I remember back in school where I would catch a fly and then feed it to my pet spider, which was on a little web in the window next to my desk. So Uralla is 112 metres above sea level. This allows it to get snow a couple of times a year, usually burns off the following day or the day after. It's 465 kilometres north of Sydney, and in 2021 had a population of 2,728. So this historic little town has about 50 historic buildings, which you can walk around. There's a little guided tour or self-guided tour that you can walk around and see. So the walk starts at McCrossins Flour Mill. Now this was built in the 1870s on Salisbury Street. Now wheat and flour and sheep were the initial industries of the area. And this old building was restored and converted to a museum in 1983 and well worth a look inside. Now if you're watching this on the vlog on the YouTube, here is a few images of some of those historic buildings that you can see whilst walking around town. So in 1851, they discovered gold out at the Rocky River. And then more so in 1852, and then the town was actually declared a town in 1855 because there was enough miners there and it was declared a town. And then another major one was found out at Mount Jones in 1856. Now this mine became massive and it presented itself to be the largest gold mine in northern New South Wales at the time. So all the historic buildings are left over and have been tastefully restored, a lot of them, from the Gold Rush era. So another little thing you can do whilst you're walking around town is there's all these little doorways into Fairy World, and they're located all around town in different spots. Now, these are cute little things to keep your eye out for. I'll put a couple of pictures up of the ones we found. So there's a few famous people associated with the Uralla area, and one of them is a fellow by the name of Edward Trickett. Now, he retired to the Uralla area, where he helped his son run the general store and work their gold mine. And unfortunately, in 1916, the walls collapsed in the shaft and he died from his injuries. But what makes Edward Trickett, or Ned, famous is he was the first Aussie to be recognised as a world champion in any sport. Now in 1876, he won the World Sculling Championship on the Thames in England. Now, it was a 7-kilometre row and he won by 4 lengths, so absolutely smashed him. A title which he then held until 1880. Now, Trickett Street in Surfers Paradise is named after him. There's a few other streets in that area that are named after other successful rowers. And he is now buried in Uralla Cemetery. So another pretty place to visit whilst in the Uralla area is just out of town at one of the first sheep stations, a place called Gostwick. Now, they've built a little church out there, and it's so pretty out there. So the best time of the year is in autumn to see it, because the corridor of elm trees as you drive in, all the leaves turn yellow and just creates this spectacular drive in. And then when you get into the little church or into there, there's a vine that's creeped all up over the church, and they all turn red, and it looks so spectacular down there. If you can get there in autumn, I highly recommend going and having a sticky beak. Now, this church was built in 1921 as a memory for the Dangars family that served and lost their lives in World War One. So back into Uralla. If you're looking for breakfast or lunch or something like that, we ate at Michael's Cafe. Now, I don't have any affiliation with him or anything like that, but I can highly recommend the bacon and egg rolls and coffee. And when we were talking to Michael, he sources his coffee beans from a local nearby Tamworth. And for pie, if you're looking for a pie, my brother-in-law Glenn has had a pie from the pie mechanic here in Uralla, and here's his review.
G'day, Glenn. Welcome aboard, episode 6.
G'day, Ian. Yeah, I've enjoyed the first 5 episodes, so looking forward to helping you out with episode 6.
So I classify you as the pie connoisseur. So what's your favourite pie?
Normally I go a pepper steak pie or a curry pie. They're the 2 favourites that I always go to, but I'm happy to try anything if it looks good.
So I think it was back in 2024, I think you visited the pie mechanic here in Uralla. What type of pie did you get, and how do you rate it?
Yeah, on that occasion I had a mushroom pie, which is packed with mushrooms. The pastry top was nice and crispy, and overall was quite delicious. I'd probably rate that probably about a 9 out of 10. And Nicole had the plain pie, and she quite enjoyed that as well. We took them down to Alma Park, and where there's some good toilet facilities down there, and it was a beautiful place.
And lastly, how many pies do you reckon you've had over all the years?
Oh, way too many to count. Like I used to have one for lunch in primary school most days. But now, as we're travelling, it's a good stop in the morning to grab a coffee and a pie for breakfast. And then if we're in a rush, we can keep travelling. And otherwise, it's a nice way to see a town, grab a pie, a coffee, eat a pie, walk around. Yeah, it's great.
Well, thanks, Glenn, for sharing that with us, and hope you can join us for future episodes.
So we stayed a night out at a little camp just out of town called Wooldridge Recreation and Fossicking Area. So this is out on the Rocky River, where you would expect to find some gold. We're going to go, tried a bit of gold panning. Fortunately, no luck. We've left it all there for the next person. But it was a good little place to camp and, relax and unwind. Probably the best-known famous identity up here in Uralla was the mighty Captain Thunderbolt. And here we are, lucky enough to have him here with us today to answer a few questions. So, g'day, Captain. Welcome aboard episode 6, Uralla.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No worries. So, when and where were you born?
I was born on the Windsor on the mighty Hawkesbury in 1835. My real name, Frederick Wordsworth Ward. So you can see why I gave myself the name, Captain Thunderbolt. All the other bushrangers had tough names like Ned Kelly and Ben Hall. So to stand there and say, give me your money as I am Frederick Wordsworth Ward, I'll get laughed out of town.
So you're the longest serving bushranger in Australia. So how'd you survive for so long?
Well, as a young fella, I learned from my 10 older siblings how to ride and steer a horse, so the dopey constables didn't stand a chance with my escapes.
And I also hear you escaped from Cockatoo Island.
Yes, I was put back into Cockatoo Island a second time when I breached my ticket of leave by missing a muster. Plus, they added a bleeding extra 3 years to my sentence. I was missing Mary, as I had a chance and took it and escaped by swimming to Waterloo.
Oh, very good. So you were called the gentleman bushranger, or you were known as a gentleman bushranger. Why so?
I robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. I never shot no one, and I tried not to involve women or children. And me mum taught me manners like please and thank yous. They go a long way, you know.
They do, they do. And lastly, how did you die?
Well, I got shot by Constable Alexander Bindy Walker in 1870, just south of Uralla, not far from my favourite rock. I also got shot in the leg about 3 months earlier, but that just gave me a limp.
Yeah, very good, very good. Oh, and was it you really they killed back in the day?
And yes, it was me they killed. All the conspiracy theories are not true.
Ah, very good. Well, thanks, Frederick Wordsworth Ward, for spending time with me today.
Anytime, mate.
Just as Edward Trickett is buried here in Uralla Cemetery, so is Captain Thunderbolt. Now, this cemetery, if you go past Captain Thunderbolt's grave, which is just inside the gate, this cemetery also has footstones, which are quite rare these days. And there's one particular grave that has 2 footstones and 1 headstone, which would suggest that there's 2 people buried side by side. There's also cast iron headstones, as there was iron works there, so which made it cheaper for headstones. So there's a few of those. And they also provide a little bit of an interesting insight into how times were tough in early Uralla, with some very short deaths, and one particular family, oh my gosh, they'd lost, I think, about 7 of their kids. So the last thing to see and do whilst in Uralla is to head south to Thunderbolt's Rock. Used to be called Big Rock or Split Rock, which was where Thunderbolt used to hide and ambush travellers and mail coaches and things like that. Unfortunately, some Muppets have put a whole bunch of graffiti over it, because I'm sure that wasn't there when the captain was there. But anyway, apart from... And there you have it, episode 6, Uralla, done and dusted. Just like to thank you for choosing Fun Facts Tours and watching and listening. And please come and join us for episode 7, which will be Woolgoolga, New South Wales.